Hi, I'm Janet from Trinisinlondon. I'm at the Tabernacle. It's buzzing with life. Genesis are upstairs at Mass Camp. Got Deborah Romaine in the back practicing pan for Panorama. There's an event going on, performance. And I'm here with Leslie Palmer at one of his book signing events. Hello, Leslie. Welcome.
Yes, welcome indeed.
And I will call you Les because that's how you like to be known fondly as. So you're here promoting your book.
Yes, yes, it's a pretty long journey to get here, but I'm delighted to be here and delighted to talk to you.
Thank you. Now, can you tell me a bit about yourself, where you've come from, where you've been, where you're going?
Ah, that's a wonderful question. I came to England when I was 21 years old, and been here ever since. Except I went home to Trinidad about 16 years ago and settled in Tobago. And of course, Tobago is a wonderful, quiet, eco kind of place. And there was not a great deal to do in the evening. So I had to find, being retired, I had to find something to do. And I picked up on telling the visitors what's available on the island, what attractions there are, the beauty of the island, and who are the artists and stuff like that. And I created a magazine and a website. And what you see here tonight, what I'm doing here tonight, is the culmination or in fact a compilation of all my magazines, and I've turned it into a book, and I call the book Tobago Exposed because I like to expose Tobago to the world, because it's worth exposing. It's a lovely island, and I am inviting people to come inside of Tobago. So I've written about the beauty of Tobago and the history of Tobago and the biodiversity of Tobago and the attractions and the folklore and the religion, and put it all in one book. And I'm delighted with it, and the people who are here are supporting it.
So the book is a combination of how many years' work?
Actually 8 years work, although I've been living there for 16 years. And it took me 4 years to actually finish compiling it. So I have 8 years worth of magazines, the What's On in Tobago. The website became very popular and is still quite popular, whatsonintobago.com. And we've had 250,000 hits a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Yes, before the tourism started to go a little bit less,
And what would you say were the best parts of writing the bits about Tobago? Which bits excited you more than others?
The history, actually, because I discovered a book called La Magdalena, which is what Columbus called Tobago. And in it, the writer had a lot of information about the plantations and the slave owners and the rules and laws concerning slavery. And for example, it was an offense to hit a white person or threaten a white person. You could be put to death for that, and that kind of thing. And that really fascinated me. So the history of it was the one that really excited me. Other than that, of course, the artists. I'm a lover of music and art, so the artists and Tobago is full of wonderful artists. Ella Andel, who's appearing tomorrow, at the Tricycle Theatre at the Independence celebrations. The Mighty Shadow, the Great Shadow, of course, Lord Nelson, and Michael Baker. A lot of people, a lot of artists who appear in the hotels and the resorts. So Tobago is it's a wonderful place for the arts, in my opinion.
Okay, and you've got quirky bits in the book as well, I see, like how not to be a mug in Tobago. What made you put that bit in?
Well, the visitors are the most important people, for the average Tobaganian, because almost 90% of the people work in the tourism industry. So sometimes when you go on holiday, people get a bit silly. They drink too much or they behave silly, and so it's neat. I find that you need to tell them, to remind them, about things that might be just common sense normally.
And it was strategically placed at the front of the book.
Sure, sure. Because if you're coming to the island, and you're going to buy the book or you're going to get a copy of the book, then it's right there in your face, let you know what to do and what not to do.
And we must support our les, and we must support our own with books like this.
Because it's a useful, I call it a useful holiday accessory. It's something that you need to tell you what to do, where to go, how to get the most out of the island, why, you might see the Tobago people doing a particular dance or playing a particular kind of music, which is their own tambourine music, and the book will give you the background to it,
Yeah, that's fantastic. I suppose at the end of the day, we have to remember that Trinidad and Tobago is not just about carnival.
For sure, for sure. Well, of course, Trinidad is the richest island in the Caribbean chain, as far as I have seen, and I've been to almost all the islands, and Tobago has a very good quality of life. And the both islands enjoy a very good quality of life, but I find that Tobago more so. So I would very much like to, I'm very proud of the book. I'm proud that I've done such a thing. I didn't know when I left here 16 years ago that I would be producing this at all. I didn't know I would be producing a magazine. But the magazine's become tremendously popular. In fact, I do 40,000 every year for the tourists. Yes, and the tourism department buys some and whatever, and yes. So the book, as I said, is a compilation of all the knowledge I picked up in the 16 years I've been there.
Excellent. As they say, it's never too old to learn. So let's go back to this theme of carnival, because it's carnival season in London. Notting Hill is less than 26 days away. And Notting Hill Carnival means a lot to the Caribbean people in this country. And I know for a fact that you have been involved in it from day one. Tell us how.
Well, I arrived here in '64. I was 21 years old. And in 1965, it's when the carnival started here, around the corner with a wonderful lady called Mrs. Laslett, who used to run the children's playground, the summer school. And she invited Ross Henderson, and Ross invited Sterling to play. And all the Trinidadian guys from the neighborhood and the West Indians, they were delighted to hear, this sound of the steel drums. And of course, that went on for the next 7 years. Every August bank holiday, we used to have a jump up. And I used to be there, and I used to participate. But in 1973, after 7 years, there wasn't going to be a carnival, it would appear, because there was no organizers to do it. And I came forward, I volunteered. But I had an idea, and the idea was that it couldn't be just that one band going through the streets alone. One band couldn't a carnival make. No, and if you don't have no costumes, even worse. So we just used to have a jump up. We used to have an annual jump up, to be honest with you, right? So when I came along, and there was only 7 weeks to go, I already had been thinking that if the carnival were to do certain things, then it would be beneficial to everybody. And the thing that gelled it all together was the participation by all the islanders. By that, yes, so the Grenadians had steel band, and if they didn't have a steel band, they had a rhythm band. The Vincentians, the Dominicans, the St. Lucians, every community, groups of islanders had their own set of music. So, and they all lived in the neighborhood. So I thought it would be a great thing to invite everybody. The only people, and of course, the Jamaicans had their reggae bands as well. And the young black people who were born here had their tremendous, like R&B funk bands.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so you had bands like High Tension, who later became, yes, and they were enormously popular. Young guys, Philip Heron, young guys coming through, and because I love music, I knew of these people. Ladbroke Grove has always been an artistic community, and always full of music and stuff. So I knew that the Jamaicans had a great deal of talent, and which they expressed through the song systems. So I thought if the carnival was going to be successful, you got to incorporate all these elements. And I did. I was able to do it quickly because perhaps I had been thinking about it before. But also I met a very decent Englishman who owned the rights to the land beneath the flyover, beneath the Westway.
Yes.
And his name is Anthony Perry. And he in fact put an advertisement in Time Out magazine, which was alive and kicking way back in '73, and his advertisement said, anyone interested in the carnival, come next Sunday to a meeting at below the flyover, and I turned up, and I just said, I think that the reason you don't have any organizer now is because there isn't the interest. It's just a Trinidad jump up. And if you really want, we call it a carnival, but it isn't a carnival. It isn't a carnival at all. A carnival needs costumes.
Yes,
for sure. And good food.
Oh, yes, for sure.
And lots of music, not just one band, you see. So that is how it all started. It was a tremendous success.
So how many bands did you start off with in the first year?
In 1973 we had 6 steel bands, 6 song systems playing calypso and reggae, different ones, all local people, and 6 bands with the guitars and saxophones and that. That I had this very unusual idea, if I might say so, which was, because we live in an urban environment, we should use the streets, in a creative way. So therefore, I would place the bands with the guitars and stuff on the street corners, so as you walk through the community, yes, you had a song system over there, you had a live band there, then you had but it never interfered with the parade.
Yeah.
Well, of course, I didn't know whether we'd have a parade, but we found a guy who later became very famous. We found 2 guys, actually. One is Lawrence Noel from Leytonstone, because I went around the clubs to find out, and I made a clever little flyer which said, call in all masked men, call in all steel band men, call in all music lovers. Carnival is going to happen.
Okay.
And call so-and-so, call Leslie Teacher Palmer, because, that's what my nickname was, Teacher. And Lawrence Noel responded all the way from Leytonstone.
Wow.
And he had a man called Mac Copeland, who was a great mask maker in Trinidad, and he was spending holidays with him, and they were able to make a tremendous number of costumes in them 7 weeks. The whole family, yes. So that was wonderful. But I also had to raise the money in 7 weeks. I had to find the trucks in 7 weeks. I had to put all that together in 7 weeks. But there's a man who is alive, and his name is Bigger Hamilton. And he walked in the day after I went into the office, because I was given an office at number 3 Acklam Road. And his name is, like I said, Robert Bigger Hamilton. And Bigger says, I've come to help you. Like a godsend it was. He said, I've come to help you. So I said, I ain't got no money. Because we had no money whatsoever. All we had was this house, as it were, an old broken down house that was given to us by Anthony Perry. But the most important thing that we had was a telephone. So I could ring up the Jamaican embassy, or I could ring up the Trinidad embassy and say, hey, yes, what can you do? So the Jamaican embassy said, hey, we got a guy called Peter Minchell. And yes, and he does our window dressing. And he's got loads of costumes downstairs that he ended up using. So that was good. So we had 2 mass bands that first year, within 7 weeks. And the carnival never looked back after that. 50,000 people turned up. I used the radio station. We had one black radio station, one black program. Not a black radio station, one black program. It was called Reggae Time, run by a guy called Steve Barnard, and there was BBC Radio London. I'm giving you a bit of history here now, the real serious history. So all blacks used to listen to Steve Barnard. Everybody used to listen, whether you're Trinidadian, Grenadian, whatever. We're so delighted to have this one black program to hear. Radio, Capital Radio there was no pirate stations or nothing like that. Anyway, Steve Barnard was a decent guy. He was a DJ. He used to play down at the Q Club, a popular club in Edgware Road there. And Steve picked up on it. He picked up on it, and I convinced him to talk to his bosses and see if he could do some kind of live broadcast thing and all of that. And all that worked. It worked. So 50,000 people turned up, and then the following year was even bigger. I had 12 bands, 12 songs, 12 live bands, and then I lost count because in 1975, Capital Radio became a radio station. Yes. And the biggest thing that was happening in London was August Bank Holiday. All these black people dancing in the streets, So they wanted part of that. So of course they would ring me up, or they would find me, and of course I'm delighted to have them. So I did a thing whereby I asked them to come and broadcast live. Okay. Well, that would bring millions of people.
I heard you mention Peter Minchell. Is that the Peter Minchell?
It is indeed the Peter Minchell. In 1973, in the month of May or something, or April, May, he did a tremendous show with all the traditional characters of the Trinidad Carnival at the Cornwall Institute. Mm-hmm. So he had done this theatrical performance, as it were, and had a whole bunch of people who wore the costumes. So the costumes were being stored because now that the show was over. So it just was very fortuitous that I rang the Jamaican embassy looking for help, because I'm ringing all the embassies, and they said, do I know there's a man called Peter Minchell who works for them, and that was a tourist board, and he has got a load of costumes. So of course I said, have you got his number? And I rang him, and he was delighted to take part once he was happy with that that we were quite serious with what we were doing. Well, of course, he never looked back. That was the first year that he came on the road with all his people. And the following year, he brought out a proper band. In fact, the following year, he took one of the costumes and entered it in Trinidad as the Queen. And he won. he won the same. So you know, it is, yes. So that and of course he's gone on to much better and greater things. So much so that I believe that he's organized the opening for the Winter Olympics and stuff like that. So wonderful. Yes.
That's great. That was a great start. He had a great introduction, and we can say that you were instrumental in that, because I suppose if you hadn't have wanted to do and expand on Carnival here, it probably wouldn't. He probably wouldn't have. Oh, I don't think you appreciate me saying that, but at the end of the day, if it wasn't for that opening, who knows what could have happened?
Yes, indeed. Who knows? We can only surmise. But however, everybody. I myself went on to other things. After 3 years of that, there was a new artist called Bob Marley coming through. And Bob Marley's record company was run by a famous Jamaican guy called Chris Blackwell. He realized how important it is, what it is that I had done. And he offered me a job to come and work with the artists that he had. Well, of course, he was one of the most famous producers of black music, because he had My Boy Lollipop, which was one of the first black hits in the 60s. So I was delighted to do that, and after 3 years of the carnival business, I didn't only do the carnival every August. I used to put on in the winter months exhibitions of the photographs.
Okay.
Yes, and stuff like that. And we ended up doing, the last exhibition I did was down at the famous mall where the Queen lives, in Paul Mall, at the Institute of Contemporary Arts. We were there for 2 weeks. So this guy recognized that what I was doing was actually promoting the black community and the black community products and the black artists in the community. So he actually was delighted for me to do that with his artists.
Excellent. That's brilliant.
So that gave me, of course, an insight into proper show business. So I was able to work, in a professional manner. So I worked with, he had many great artists, of course. He had Steve Winwood and all the main wonderful white artists. But he was doing a thing with reggae. He had already done a thing with Jimmy Cliff and had made him a star. So he was now going to do the same for Bob and Third World, which he did. So.
And the history lives on.
Yes. So I was delighted to be part of that.
Okay, so you're busy with your magazine. You've had a very, how can we say, flavored journey down to what you're doing today. What do you do to relax? What do you do in your spare time? Spare time, I use the term loosely, if you have any.
Well, whenever I'm in Tobago, I could relax. I could go on the beach and relax and stuff. But I like to travel, so I go up and down, I visit as many West Indian islands as possible, and see how they live and see how they handle tourism, and it gives me ideas. Pick up all the magazines, the tourism magazines, read them, see what's going on, and that's how I enjoy my life right now. But of course, this is my hometown, back in Ladbroke Grove, which I have given so much of my life to. So I am happy to be here. I try to come every summer and enjoy the vibes.
So you'll be around for Carnival?
For sure.
So what happened after Island Records?
Well, working with Island, I was able to travel to European countries with the bands, on tour with Tuts and the Maytals and other acts like that, seeing show business front and personal, close up and personal, and being, doing the professional way. So I went to Africa. I met, I met a whole heap of different artists. Fell around some Kuti and Sonny Ade and all of that. So it was terrific. Believe it or not, but I perhaps did my job so well, which was the brief was to promote reggae, and having done it and reggae took off, well, what more can I do? So actually, I became a manager, promoter type of thing. I became a license agent and began representing the British acts, the young British acts. So Aswad, Steel Pulse, Janet Kay, Alton Ellis. So I work with all these people, finding them jobs in Europe, on the continent. But my love has always been the great artist called Tuts and the Maytals.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he's my favorite artist. So I toured with him. I used to take him to Europe, and he took me to America and stuff like that. And that led me to another aspect, another chapter in my life, which is the formation of something called BBMC, Brent Black Music Cooperative. And that came about when the young musicians perhaps had recognized that I had a lot of experience perhaps, and they wanted to set up, they wanted help how to get ahead in the music industry. So I set up a program with help from the Ministry of Labor. It's called the Manpower Services Commission at that time. And we set up the Brent Black Music Cooperative, and that went on. I worked with them for 7 years, and that was very successful. Famous woman called Geraldine Connor. I employed her as the head of education, and many great artists used to come there. UB40, Peter Gabriel. It was a tremendous success. It's still going under a different name, but at that time, I also began to express myself individually as an artist person. So I gave myself the name Wounded Soldier, and I am known by that name in the Calypso fraternity in Trinidad, and I began to perform and record and stuff. So that was freeing up my own self, which I needed to do. You see what I mean?
So really and truly, you've lived your life. You've achieved so much. You've accomplished so much. You've been to areas that probably people could only dream of, and you've reached. Do you feel like you've reached?
Well, I have enjoyed life. Yes. One of the most beautiful people I worked with was a famous artist called Gil Scott-Heron. He was one of my favorites, and the Black American poets. Because I write, it would appear that I have a love for words.
Yeah.
So these poets, the last poets, tremendous artists, they were the people who created what you call rap now.
Yeah.
They were the first rappers. So I remember liking them. I remember loving Miles Davis, and I've always been a lover of music and art. So. Maybe there's another chapter.
Can you do any more though? That's the thing.
I don't know, Miguel. I don't know.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Janet from Trinisinlondon, giving you a little more insight into Leslie Palmer. Good luck with your book.
Alias Wounded Soldier.
Alias Wounded Soldier.
All right. Thank you so much.
That's no problem.
Real pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie.